Assalamualaikum guys and welcome back to the channel. Last video was about to the PHP and we discussed very basics of PHP we covered in last video. So today we gonna talk about the object oriented programming in PHP. That is in simple words, in short abbreviation we call OOP. Okay, so if I talk about after PHP 5, we can also write PHP codes in an object oriented styles. So why we use the object oriented programming? There are few reasons, because one important reason is it is faster and it's easier to execute. So let's talk about some history of about procedural programming. This is object oriented. What is procedural programming before object oriented? So, procedure programming is you say when you are writing procedures or functions or operations, okay, which you perform on the data. While in object oriented, you can create objects that contain both data and function. Okay, so object oriented programming has several advantages or procedure. There are some advantages which I am telling you. First one, I told you it's easy and fast. Okay, easier to execute and fast. And second reason is that it provides a clear structure for the program, and also the object oriented programming helps to keep the code. Okay, we use a term that is called dry, that do not repeat yourself. So object oriented programming actually helps to that do not repeat yourself the code and makes the code easier to maintain, modify and debug. Okay, and oops actually makes it's possible to create full reusable applications with less code and shorter development time. So let's talk about do not repeat yourself. Dry principle is about reducing the repetition of code. We want to reduce the repetition of code, so that's why we are using the object oriented programming. So in object oriented programming we have some various things. If I go back in this paint file, here I will explain some things for you, that object oriented programming contains some things like which we call the classes and object. I hope so. If it is not visible, then I will make a zoom. Let me increase the size. Let me write something first of all. So what are classes and objects? Okay, so we need to be understand what are now sizes. I think so. Okay, we need to select this text, then it will hope so it will work. Yes, let me increase this to okay. Now, hope so this font size will be clear to you. We are talking about what are the classes and objects. Okay, in OOP. Okay, in OOP, because OOP contains these two things: classes and objects. So, classes and objects are the two main aspects of object-oriented programming. Let's take a very simple example, that we have a class for, uh, let's say, what is it called, for mobile. Okay, let's say we are taking, let's say I have a class for this mobile. Now if I talk about what are the objects for this class, as the class name is mobile, let me write the objects for this class. So objects will be, objects are, let's say various mobile phones are the objects. Okay, like various brands like Samsung. Okay, like Apple, like other brands, what is called desktop mobiles, also Google phone, Nokia, okay, BlackBerry. So these things which I have written, these are the objects for this class, for this mobile phone class. Actually mobile is a class, okay, and it has the objects. Okay, various mobile brands are the objects for this class. Let's say if I need to be add something more, that let's take another example. We have a class for fruits. Okay, fruits. These fruits we have a class. So now if I make the objects for this, these ones are various fruits you can take like apple, uh, banana, okay, peach, okay, you take watermelon, okay, dates, okay, so it is okay. So these all are the objects for this particular class. We have a class for fruit and it has the objects apple, these type of stuff. So same like on the other hand we have a class for the mobile phones. So it has a mobile is a class and it has objects like samsung, apple, and these type of things. So class is a template for object and object is an instance of the class. Okay, class is a template, it is a template for the object. As you see we have the class for fruit. Okay, this is actually the templates for object, and that objects we these objects are basically belongs to the class. Okay, as you see all these objects which I have written in the fruit class, these all are the instance of this fruit class. Okay, when the individual objects we are creating, they inherit all the properties and behavior from this fruit class. Okay, or whatever the class we have, but each object will have different values for the properties. So we need to go something uh, we need to after some videos of inheritance. So here we discuss detail that how you inherit the things. So object oriented programming totally based on classes and objects. Okay, let's say let's assume that we have a class, okay, fruit, for this particular which I have created, and it has can be it has a properties like let's say if I say some properties of fruit. So what are the properties for fruit? Okay, it may have color, it may have some weight, these all are the properties. It may have some shape as well. Okay, so or if we say if have it has some name as well. Okay, so these all are the properties of this fruit class. Okay, it has color, every fruit which you are taking, it has its own color, its own weight, its shape, and its name, etc. So we need to go back in the code editor and let's try to define a class in PHP, that how we are defining a class in PHP. So here I'm raising this all and I need to zoom it for you guys so you can easily see the code. Now if I this is PHP I have declared, now I am taking the class. So I'm taking the class for fruit. Okay, we remember the fruit class, every class starts with a capital letter. Okay, fruit. So this is the fruit class I have taken. This is how you define the class. Okay, if you press the enter, what is my enter button is not working, but this is actually the class. Okay, this is how you create the class. This is a fruit class. Okay, which we have created, and inside that fruit class we have to give the properties. Okay, like its name, its weight, and various type of stuffs. So why it's not going? Okay, so here I am just writing some things. Okay, so if I go back, sorry, in my code editor there is some issues, the enter key is not working. So do not need to worry. So we are here defining some properties. Okay, properties are what we can say. We have a property and we are defining with the dollar. You know that every variable which we are using in PHP we need to define with dollar. So this is dollar name. Same like if we define another term, that is the dollar color. Okay, so we are defining this one. Okay, here we need to give the semicolon, and if I shift this below, it every issue will be resolved. So dollar name here, and here I just enter this one. Here I'm removing this. Okay, So these two actually properties I have written. We remember whenever we are written these properties, we need to make the public. Okay, these are the class members. So public we need to give. Okay, so public here. We remember there is no need to define the data types, as we discussed earlier that PHP will automatically takes the data type itself. So these are the properties which I have written. Okay, and inside in it we need to be say some methods. Okay, so I'm using some comments here. Methods, here we are using some methods, and methods are what? Methods are basically the functions we are using. Getter setters, you need to set the data, and then you need to get the data. Getter setters. Okay, we will discuss these terms later, that how we use. So here for just to explain you that how you define the class in the PHP and how you define the methods. So methods I need to be say function. So once I give this function, now one method I'm using, first of all I need to set name. Set, and then I need to be say set name, and inside this set name we do not need to do anything. Get, what is going on? Okay, so here one we define this function successfully. Now what we need to do, as this enter key will not work and it will irritates me a lot. Okay, so this function we use the set functions here, and inside this first set functions, if this brackets looks fine, so here I need to be say, we first of all we need to pass a parameter, that is the dollar name, because we are passing the name as well as color. Okay, both things. So first of all, I am only passing the name first. Okay, so once we define this, once we pass this parameter in this function, so here we need to be say that dollar this name is this, and we represent with this pointer. This is actually the pointer which indicates that which one I am talking about, which name I am talking about. So I am saying this name semicolon. Okay, so we have done this one. We passed the name and we said that set this name to this dollar name which I defined above. I'm talking about this name which I defined in public, this one. So once I set this one, now what I need to be say, now I am taking another method that is called the get method. Okay, which actually gets this name. So function here I am using, and here inside function I'm just calling and making the function that is get name. You have to get the name. So once we done this one, okay, so here we are just saying that return what, return dollar the name. Okay, which we passed, we just have to return it. Okay, so once we done this one, and now if we refresh and if we need to go back in the browser, let's see will it work or not. Okay, why this is unexpected class food. There is no errors, why this is giving and returning error. Let's see, let's need to run this code. Okay, and let's see will the code will run or not. So I need to go back in my browser and I'm refreshing the page, and it is not showing anything. Okay, the reason is that why it is not showing anything, because I have not see out or I have not printed something. I just told you that in this class that how you make a simple class. Okay, okay, these are basically some characteristics of the class where which you need to give. That is here I have taken, sorry, I have taken the name as a characteristic for this class, as a color as property for this class, and then I use the getter setters. This actually get name is called getter, and this set name which actually sets your parameter and then returns when we call the get function. It will actually returns whatever we set in this function. So this is how you use the getter and setter. Set means setter, which actually sets the value, and get actually returns. Okay, whatever you set in this function, it will actually get this value or whatever you pass. So that's why we are talking this getter and setters. So in a class, variables are basically the properties and functions are the methods. So this is all about today's video. We discussed that what is OOP, what is the difference between the procedural and object oriented programming, and then how you create a simple class, what are the getters